Are you interested in microclover for your lawn? Well, we did just that, so watch this video to see how it went. Hey, welcome back. My name is Robin and I am the West Coast Gardener. Now, if this is your first time here, make sure you hit subscribe and hit that bell for notifications because we are going to have some big changes in our yard and in our garden, including the microclover. Make sure you check out my new website, which is westcoastgardener.com, and I have an article about microclover on there. In this video, I'm going to give you an honest review of how we felt the microclover went for us from start to finish and if we would recommend it for you in the future. Now comment below if you have tried microclover, any other ground covers, suggestions you have, reviews you have, and also any questions. Microclover is a great alternative to a traditional grass lawn. You can use it totally in place of your grass and just have a monoculture of microclover, or you can have grass mixed with microclover. Now, I did a microclover video earlier this year on the benefits, sowing, and growing tips. You're going to want to check that out because there's lots of great information on how to start your microclover, lots of the benefits, whether it's right for you. So click on the card above or in the link below to see that video. So my initial impressions of the microclover. Well, we sowed it at the beginning of April. We got the seeds from West Coast Seeds, and once we sowed it, it took about a week to germinate, which isn't unusual, especially at that time of year. Now, I would recommend buying double the seeds that West Coast Seeds website suggests. As you can see, our lawn is a little sparse, and if you had double the seeds, it would fill in more quickly. And I'll get to the lines in just a minute. Now you need to keep the seeds really damp, and which was handy because at the beginning of April we typically get a ton of water on the west coast, and so that managed to keep it damp without moving too many of the seeds around. A few of them did, which we did have to overseed. So once they did germinate, it actually started to get warmer and we had to start using our sprinkler. Now we did not want to install a sprinkler system, which was partly why we got the microclover. We believe in water conservation. We're also on a well, so we didn't want to be wasting a lot of water. So I bought a cheap oscillating sprinkler and we brought it out here and we're watering the clover just to keep it going when it was in its really young stages. We also overseeded some of the areas where some of the seeds had drifted away due to some water pooling. And that was a bit of a challenge to keep them damp enough during that time to germinate. And none of them really did. So around the edges of our yard, there are some gaps of where the clover isn't, but I will overseed that in the autumn. So we were watering with the sprinkler and we actually ran out of water once or twice. We do have a cistern, so it wasn't a huge deal, but we just thought we're wasting a lot of water. Let's just see how this microclover does without water in the summer. And if we have to, we'll throw some water at it. So it looks pretty dry, but we haven't watered it at all this summer. It's actually pretty drought tolerant. Now there are some visible lines of dryness in our yard, and that's because we have some drainage pipes in there because previous winters our lawn had become very boggy and wet. So we do have to have that there. So above those drainage lines, really no water can sit for long, stay absorbed into the ground. But in between those lines, it's doing great. And I suspect next summer, it probably would not die back much, if at all. Now, we had a week where it rained a ton and it really bounced back. I wish I had taken some photos. Now, an interesting thing about microclover is it is recommended that you mow it frequently to keep it low to the ground, which helps it keep its micro size. So you'll have these tiny little leaves versus the larger leaves if you keep it mowed. But we didn't have to mow it because clover is not deer resistant. Now, if you have deer in your area, don't necessarily be scared away. Pay close attention to this part. Now, the deer would come to our yard a lot to eat this clover. They actually basically kept it mowed for us. But the interesting thing is that they stayed away from my other plants almost exclusively. They only once touched my petunias. The deer on Vancouver Island eat almost everything. They've even been known to eat plastic flowers. So I'm really happy because the deer stay away from my other plants and they actually keep the lawn short. And now the clover recovers really well because it has structures called stolons or like runners. Now the runners allow the plant to recover really quickly, and this also helps during times of drought. So it will send up new shoots if other shoots are eaten, which is really handy. There are very few flowers if you get the actual microclover variety, which we did. We have a few in our yard, which isn't a big deal. If you're concerned about pollinators, I have a ton of pollinator plants in my yard and in my side garden, so it's not really an issue. So overall, we really like the microclover and I would really recommend it. And I've linked West Coast Seeds below. I'm not affiliated at all. I'm just a really big fan. And if you have any questions, please comment below, hit subscribe so you can see some of the great changes we've got coming up. And I'll see you next time. Go garden for happiness and health.